this section of the player's handbook, which starts on page 286, Actions in Combat, which talks about spending action points, aiding another, bull rush, basic attack, charge, all that good stuff. All the kind of stuff that you can do when you are actually in an encounter. So let's start with the aid action. And we will start by making sure everybody can see each other here. So visible to players. Now let's say this top skeleton wants to aid the bottom guy, blue here, with an intimidate check. The way we do that is we click actions in combat, aid another. Okay. It's going to go after any adjacent tokens, and it sees only this guy's adjacent, so it automatically picks him. It says check on bony guy blue. So let's go down to intimidate and say okay. And let's see if that's good enough. Probably not if it's just a 5. So he gets some output in the chat. Unfortunately, he is not successful. So he gets -1 to intimidate for his buddy there. So we will close this. And we will close the overlay. And that's not looking good for him. So next we will go to aid attack. Now the way we do that, and for aid defense, is 2 enemy tokens need to be adjacent to each other. So Bony Guy Red will go up to Vanny, and let's run aid attack. So just to be clear, what's happening here is the skeleton is interfering with Vanny's ability to attack one of the skeleton's allies. Since, again, the bottom guy is the only ally available on the map, it's going to automatically choose him. Otherwise, you'll be given a choice of who you want to aid. So we'll say okay there. And we get some output. +2 to Gen Atmod on Bony Guy Blue. And we see the state appear on him for the effect. So he knows that he's got +2 to attack. And if he looks at the chat, he knows that he has +2 attack against Vanny alone. Nobody else. So whoever is playing the top skeleton, Mr. Red here, needs to say to Mr. Blue, hey, you got +2 to attack, so go after this guy. And the same holds true with defending your buddy. Aid defense, okay? Only there is no check for this one. He gets +2 to all defenses. Mr. Blue does. So that's how that works. We see the defense bonus state appear on him. And it's also displayed in the chat. Very convenient. And remember, you can hover over a button on your token in your selection panel and get the next possible action, which is Bull Rush. Let's see how that's done. Notice that it's an A-boss power. That means we have to move the A-boss first to where the destination is for the effect in question. So the way we do that is we say we want to push them southwest. And so we put it southwest of the object token there. And let's see, go down to Bull Rush. Okay. Did we charge? You know what? Let's say we did. This is going to be a mega Bull Rush. Okay. We get 1 for the charge, but that's not very good. You know what? I'm going to make an executive decision here and put a large number there. Let's say we do really well on the D20. Say, okay, just to show that this indeed works. And look at that. Vanny gets pushed to the A-boss, and Red comes in to occupy the former space that Vanny was in. I'm just going to remind you here, there is something weird going on with smaller than medium tokens. Vanny is a small token. Sometimes it gets sent to the wrong square. It'll go to the northwest square for some strange reason. If that happens, just put him back to the right square that you're doing. Choose basic attack. Now that's pretty straightforward. I won't demonstrate that. What that'll do is it'll go through your library token and look for all the powers beginning with lowercase m or r and present those to you depending on whether you choose melee or ranged respectively, and allow you to choose between those. And that's useful for certain powers and stuff that allow you to take a basic attack. Grab is the next one. So what we're going to do now is run that. Again, because there's only one enemy next to the skeleton, it's going to automatically choose that enemy, which happens to be Vanny. And by the way, notice we have this little picture of Vanny up here just to make it clear. And it says my strength check versus Vanny. Again, I'm rolling pretty bad today. Our map tool is giving me bad rolls. Let's put a high number there for our D20 so we can show that this works. And we get our other bonuses for strength and half level. Say okay. Now we see the grabbed state and the immobilized state appear on the token that we have grabbed. And of course, we get the overlay at the top of the screen, which drives that point home, as well as the usual output in the chat, which shows his speed going down to 0. 6 minus 6 is 0, and he's got the grab state on him. So that's how we know that we're grabbed by the skeleton. Next, we're going to look at a couple of options for the grab action, which aren't actually updated in there yet. So let's say we want to, okay, we don't want to open that. We'll just grab the edge of the A boss here. The skeleton wants to bring Vanny into flanking with the other skeleton in that position. So he wants to drag him down there. So let's do that. We click on the skeleton. Look at this. We have two more options here. Remember how I said the framework is context sensitive? We didn't see that before. The grab, let go, and the grab, move, A boss. If you rewind this video to earlier, when we were doing the aid actions, those weren't there because he wasn't grabbing anybody at the time. But he is now, so let's try grab, move. And that's also an A boss power. So we have to move the A boss to the destination first. That's where we're going to want the guy to move to. So we'll say okay. And we get an error. You need to use the OSP for this function. Once again, the OSP is the object selection procedure, and I'll put a link for that procedure into the description for this video. But it's really simple. All you do is you select both tokens. So another way of doing that is you can click on red, hold down the shift key, then click on Vanny. That's the object selection procedure where you're both selected. So the macro that's running knows it will be operating on the other guy that you're doing. And just look at the label there right now. I am grabbing Vanny. That's a handy visual cue to let you know that you have someone grabbed, because you could have multiple guys grabbed, and that's the last guy you grabbed. That's the message that you get under your token. So let's try it again. See if we can have better luck this time with this guy. And we go down to Bony Guy Red's group in the selection, which is all you're going to, well, you as a DM will see both, but when a player token tries to do this, they'll only see themselves. And we go to actions in combat, grab, move. Okay. Then it comes up with a skill check request, and that's a good check now. So once again, we got our strength bonus and half level, and we will say okay there. And because you're using a move to token function, it's going to ask you, well, how high does this guy have to be? Well, we are on a level field here, so everybody's on altitude 0. So we'll say okay to that because the A boss is on altitude 0. And look at that. It sends both guys to the A boss, but we know that's not right. We don't want both of them to be on the same square because they can't occupy the same square. So the macro knows that, so it's asking us, well, where do you want to shift to after this? So let's say we want to shift to the southwest. Look at that. We are now in perfect flanking with that. I could have put Vanny right there and put the skeleton right there, but this looks a little more dramatic to go on the diagonal. So there we go. Now, Red says, yep, that's all I wanted to do with the grabbing and the moving and stuff like that. I'll let go now. So we can click on Red and go grab, let go. Watch the states on Vanny. They disappear. And we see in the chat they have indeed been removed. Now, interesting side fact. Again, the framework is smart. It knows that you have to let go of a grab in certain situations. If one of Vanny's allies wants to force move Bony Guy Red away from Vanny while Red is grabbing Vanny, he has to let go. So remember we talked about send macro earlier in the last section of videos? What's going to happen is send macro will send grab let go to Red, who has to run it at that point. So that's automatically run and Vanny is let go. You'll see that when you're actually playing your games. Let's see what else we have here. And oh, by the way, look at that. The tooltip now has grab, let go, and grab, move in there because it's going by the last time the menu was run, at which time they were valid options. They aren't anymore, as we'll see when we click the button. Emily Basic that's pretty self-explanatory, but we will go anyway. See, the grab options are gone. Emily Basic, okay. And what this does is, since M longsword, sorry, is the only one there, only basic attack it has, it will automatically choose that. There's the flanking again with the CA state. We hear the squish as the longsword plunges into the poor halfling, and the basic attack is carried out and the mark done, as we have seen before in the running encounter. And we see the health bar appear above Vanny because he is now taking damage. So, manual attack. This is a new one. I wrote this because some of my players are getting frustrated with the amount of time that the attack power macro is taking to run. So I said, okay, well, you can do something which only does the attack and no damage. It just sees whether you hit or not. So we'll say, okay. This is useful in cases where you have a power like in the features of the area where it says, yeah, if somebody is moved into this tar pit or whatever, the inanimate feature or hazard, whatever, takes an attack. I remember one adventure that we were playing where there was a waterfall actually in the middle of a room. There was a leak in the ceiling and there was a torrent of water coming down. And if you got sent into that area, you got attacked by the water. I know it kind of sounds kind of strange, but what we can do there to model that behavior is we can select a target, in this case Vanny, say okay, and then manually fill out this form here. So we can say in the description for that waterfall or whatever it is, it says it gets a 7 as its numerical bonus to attack. Range, that doesn't really matter. Threat minimum, that's what you need to get a critical. You need to roll a 20, but you can lower that if you want to. And it's not really a weapon or implement. It doesn't matter anyway. There's no ammo being used, and it's not an offhand attack. So attack type is melee. That's fine. There's no bonus or penalty. If there was, we can use this drop down here. And we'll say we're attacking reflex. Say okay. And we get the attack macro come up. And that hits. But it doesn't do any damage. For that, we will do manually. If it does damage, we can go run Vanny's adjust HP. So let's see what else we can do by hovering over. Okay, the list has gotten much shorter now. There's only manual attack, melee basic, range basic, pretty self-explanatory. Toggle squeeze mode. Let's say to get away, Vanny is running through, a narrow passageway, and he needs to squeeze through it. I know that's unlikely because he's a small character, but go with me on this one. But we must squeeze at this point. So actually, we've already seen run in the past set of videos. Second wind, again, that'll run the surge macro, which we'll see in the health video. And that won't appear, actually, if you don't have any surges left. Again, context sensitivity, remember that. Toggle squeeze mode, we'll say okay. See what that does. And you'll notice this looks very similar to run in that you are getting a, we get -3 to speed because you're actually squeezing between the walls. So it's going to slow you down, and you're going to grant. So the combat advantage has been put on him, so for being attacked. And total defense we've seen in the last set of videos. Of course, that gives you +2 to all your defenses, like we saw earlier with aid defense. And now you are a pro at using the actions in combat menu. So hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching.